Welcome, everyone. Welcome for the first time to Portugal. Welcome to Portimao, the Algarve International Circuit. On the coast of Portugal in the Iberian Peninsula, we have a phenomenal racetrack, 2.89 miles, a lap around the Grand Prix circuit here in the rolling hills. We're glad to have you with us here. It's going to be a lot of fun. A very interesting race coming up here. 83 degrees, the air temp, track tip 119 degrees Fahrenheit. Very low humidity, but higher winds than what we saw last time out at a very chaotic race in Montreal. The race should not be as chaotic here today. We'll be able to get into that in just a moment. But going into this race, it's going to be very interesting seeing how the championship really pans out here. Neil de Backer and Bianca Constantinou entered today level on points, 39 apiece. De Backer got pole, Bianca Constantinou got second place to start today's race. So de Backer's got a 1-point lead now. It's 42-41. Taylor Mills, third place in points, entering. Josh Gaiman, Lily Baltier Sharp, Tucker Sawyer, Garnet Adams, top 7. Bruce Silva, Rachel Conkley, and Eli Sasek, your top 10 so far. Again, this is going to be very interesting because this is a very compact weekend of racing. 43 laps here today, here in Algarve. Drivers are also participating in the 24 Hours of Spa. Not all the field is here today. Some drivers taking this race as one of their 2 very valuable drop rounds. That's important. It's going to be vital to follow that as we go throughout the season here. Le Peltier Sharp, after getting a podium at Montreal, not present here today. Sawyer's present, Gaiman's present, Mills, Constantinou, de Backer, they're present. Garnet Adams is present. Silva not present. Conkley's present. Sasek's present. Rebecca Rennie, not expected to be here for the next couple races. Jessica Sabin, also not present here today. There's no dog box cars in the field at all today as they take on the 24 Hours of Spa. Danny Brennan is present after making his debut in the championship last week in Montreal. Both the MPEM cars, Saucier and Prezi, they are in the race here today. They did not make it into Q2. They were eliminated in Q1, so they will start 11th and 12th in today's field. There's no Crivelli, there's no Volkswagen Motorsports at all in this race. No Nico Motors, no Kyle Taub for the second race in a row. Very important to follow all of that. Some drivers using both their drop rounds already to kick off the season. And the teams battle is not too awful different there. Taylor Mills Racing and Stepping Stone Motorsports, the top 2 teams with Prismatic Motorsports trying to play catch up. Ascent Racing sitting in 4th, Dogbox Racing, as we mentioned, not in this race. They were 5th in points. Let's see if they drop any points here to Gearcats, who is also not present. Nick Pressey Motorsports is present. Taylor Mills Motorsports has 1 representative in Danny Brennan. Alfredo Motorsports, no representation. Arasaka Arrowhead Racing only has 1 car. Again, a lighter field, but that is to some drivers' benefit. If you look at the drivers, like Pressey, like Saucier, guaranteeing themselves some points here. Derek Miller, who's had a very rough start of the season, he qualified 3rd, getting his very first point of the season in round 3. The first 2 races have been extremely abysmal for that 7 car. So his championship, for the most part, is starting here. And then we'll look at qualifying results here. Again, as you see, some drivers doing warm-up at the moment. Again, 12 cars in this field. Bryce Saucier just doing installation laps. New track to him. He qualified 12th. Nick Pressey Motorsports, again, in row 6. Sasek in the top 10, but couldn't get further than 10th. Both Prismatic cars got into the top 10. Obviously, both Stepping Stone cars, both Taylor Mills Racing cars. Derek Miller, as I mentioned, starting 3rd. Very interesting to see how this race develops in full. 43 laps once again. And then we have a week off, and then we're back for 2 more races to end July and begin early August. next race we have after today is in Barcelona. We go from Portugal to Spain. That's August 3rd, in 2 weeks' time. It is almost showtime here in Algarve. Here's the entire field as it looks. Getting ready for this race. Neil de Backer, the Belgian, alongside Bianca Constantinou, the championship contenders, leading the field. Then it's Derek Miller, Taylor Mills, Danny Brennan, Rich Conkley, Josh Gaiman and Tucker Sawyer top 8. Garnet Adams and Eli Sasek your top 10. Nick Pressey and Bryce Saucier rounding out the field. Almost showtime for 43 laps. We'll see the 5 red lights begin to blare. And for the first time in ABN, we're live and racing in Portugal. Really good launch by Constantinou. But de Backer wraps around the outside lane, trying to get back to the front. Does not happen. Everyone trying to make some work happen. Whoa, trouble. De Backer checked up big time by Constantinou. Miller loses his front wing. 3 races, 3 incidents for Miller. And that is going to be huge problems for de Backer. De Backer got checked up big time behind Constantinou. Miller unsighted. De Backer trying to dance around a 640 horsepower car with no rear downforce. Sorry, no, that's Taylor Mills without rear wing. De Backer still sitting in the 3rd spot. Taylor Mills lost a rear wing. So de Backer still going, but in 3rd behind Rachel Conkley. Still struggling here. Again, both the 7 and the 16, the 7 of Miller, the 16 of Mills, will have to come down pit lane. That's exactly what they're going to do now, and that is a very sketchy last corner to go without any rear downforce. It's hard enough without front downforce. With rear downforce, without rear downforce, it is an absolute nightmare. Constantinou leads lap 1 after winning last week in Montreal. Very chaotic race, chaotic start here in Portimao. De Backer got back ahead of Conkley, but almost looped it there, going up the hill. These Yokohama tires taking a couple laps to get up to temperature. Conkley in 3rd for Prismatic Motorsports. Prismatic looking for its first podium of the season. 2 cars in the top 5 with Garnet Adams celebrating her birthday this weekend. Sitting right now in the top 5. Brennan and Gaiman, they went side by side. Gaiman ended up the worst of it. Brennan up to 6th, Gaiman to 7th, Sasek 8th, Pressey 9th, Saucier up to the top 10. Again, you see the work being done on the cars in pit lane. They will go a lap down, almost guaranteed. De Backer right back to the gearbox of Constantinou in the final sector here, coming to the final corner. Very long and sweeping final corner. And I think one of the more fun corners of the track. Here comes de Backer. Constantinou defends the inside, the Romanian and the Belgian side by side as they approach turn 1. Constantinou really good on the defense. De Backer not going to give it up though. De Backer really good on closing that gap, but Constantinou knew exactly how to defend for turn 1. These top 2 battling it out. The more that they battle, the more it keeps Rachel Conkley in this conversation. Just a 1.5 seconds behind these 2. Sawyer in 4th for the Ascent Racing Honda team. And again, Adams sitting in the top 5. Brennan a couple seconds adrift of that in 6th. So a bit of an island at the moment. But here we go. De Backer going to have a really good shot here to try to take the lead back. Could be a very interesting back and forth battle here between the two drivers. Down the hill and around the final corner. Constantinou very tight on the exit of the last corner. De Backer not close enough here. Not brave enough to also make that pass go around. Peeks to the outside. Looks to the inside. Goodness. Constantinou defending like her life depends on it, and it very well might. Riding on board with De Backer. Constantinou locked up the brakes there. Getting a really good look at how De Backer's having to handle the defensive driving of Constantinou in that Stepping Stone Motorsports Ford. Riding on board with De Backer here. What has become the championship contest between these two drivers, between the Romanian and the Belgian. Keep an eye on the Hungarian driver, Rachel Conkley. Constantinou defends the inside once again. De Backer not using push to pass. Has not used push to pass any of the first 4 laps of this race. Really trying to hold on to it. Constantinou's also been off the button. Push to pass offers an extra 40 horsepower. 40 horsepower doesn't sound like a lot when you're thinking that these cars already generate over 600 horsepower, but it gives you that extra kick when you're in slipstream or when you're going through the gears in this slow speed corner. It gives you just that extra little oomph. Some extra torque to try to gain some ground and close a gap or solidify a pass. Constantinou touching the gravel there. And this is enthralling. This battle here. Constantinou left the door open a little bit. De Backer, knowing where he was on the racetrack, did not commit to it. Fantastic show of force right now. 4 cars under a blanket realistically, with Sawyer right there in the mix as well, in case either of these two have a hiccup. De Backer to the outside this time, using push to pass. Clears Constantinou. The Belgian back out front after starting on pole position. Rachel Conkley, though, fastest lap of the race. So now it's on Constantinou to try to make a pass to get back to the front of the field. De Backer, what a disappointing race Montreal was for him. Pole position there as well. He's been perfect on the poles in qualifying, 3 for 3. Contact lap 1, threw him all the way down the field, didn't finish the race. Put him in a spot where he has to contest with Constantinou now. A lot closer of a championship competition. I think he was initially expecting. Constantinou sitting right now in the 2nd spot. Conkley in 3rd. Sawyer 4th. Garnet Adams 5th. And then the Irishman, Danny Brennan, in 6th. Constantinou comes down pit lane. This is an early pit stop for Bianca. She drops down the order. And it's a team strategy call because there goes Josh Gaiman as well. Both the Forge for Stepping Stone Motorsports in pit lane. Importantly, that gives Conkley some breathing room, some fresh air. And now all three of the top three can try to stretch their legs just a little bit more, free of the dirty air that generates when you're behind one of these cars. De Backer had to deal with it for several laps. Used push to pass finally to get back around. Has not used it since. Pressy also down pit lane. Actually, getting ready to see potentially a pass here for the top five between Garnet Adams and Danny Brennan. Really good fight going on here between the TMRB team, Telemos Motorsports, and Prismatic. And in comes Brennan. A lot of early pit stops in this race so far. Only 4 drivers staying out and going long. Now, this is an interesting part of the conversation. So at Montreal last week, as it was at Indianapolis as well, the season opener, going longer on your stint seemed to be more valuable. I believe the idea behind those that have pit early is that they're going to have the better tires at the end of the race where there's less fuel load on the cars. These cars cannot refuel. Backer at the front of the field. Leading by 3.4 seconds. Conkley 3.7, 3.8 seconds adrift at the moment. So very interesting to see what the strategy calls play out. 4 cars on the strategy of go as long as possible before you make your pit stop. You can make your pit stops for tires between laps 5 and 38. You cannot pit in the final 5 laps or the first 5 laps in the race. Constantinu setting a personal best, a 128.132. Cold tires playing effect there. Neil De Bakker's best lap, a 126.9. His last lap was a 127.4. But De Bakker's got warm tires. Constantinu's are still getting up the temperature. And for De Backer, it's all about consistency for him. He's not had the fastest lap at any point in this season. Had it taken away from him at Indianapolis at the very last lap. Never had a chance to compete for it in Canada. Has it provisionally right now, but if he's pitting late in this race, he may not have a chance to defend it here. It's all about that consistency, and that's something that very few have been able to show so far in the early goings of this season. It's a long season. Truth be told, it's a longer season, so there's time for challengers to rise up and show their mettle. We're race 3 into 12. Here in Portugal, we got Spain in August 3rd, Silverstone August 10th, And then Madnikor on the 17th, and a very busy August ends in Austria at the Red Bull Ring on the 24th. Gaiman 128.5. Again, they're off just a little bit on the race leader's pace at the moment, but the race leader on warmer tires, maximizing his use of that fuel load at the moment. Saucier and Preci just crossing the line there as well. They've already made their pit stops as well. Except Saucier has it. Saucier's just had a really rough run so far. You see what the Bakker's been able to do, open up a gap there to 127.4. Adams in the 129. Sasek comes down pit lane. He bails on that strategy. So he's going to come in here on lap 11. And he'll drop back down the order. De Backer, Conkley, Sawyer, Adams, Sasek. Your top 5 for the moment. Constantine will take 5th way back. And Constantinu's times have improved. 127.5 right there in the mix. With De Backer now on the timesheet. Same with Danny Brennan. Now you're seeing some of the drivers that are carrying that pace to try to challenge the race leader. This is going to play out strategically for De Backer. De Backer should have the lead when he makes his pit stop, depending on how things play out. It's about how he exits pit lane and how he handles those cold Yokohama tires after he leaves pit lane. The cold tires here, there's no tire warmers in this series. It's a bit more challenging. Up down there went Bryce Saucier without really much of a fuss. I think Saucier just kind of happy right now to be in the points and be contending here. Here comes Josh Gaiman on Eli Sasek. Sasek left pit lane on colder tires. Gaiman's had a chance to get his tires up the temperature here. Out of the final corner. How defensive does Sasek make it? Pretty defensive. He's on push to pass. Push to pass in effect. And he will stay ahead. And runs wide in the braking zone. Still holding on to that position. That was through turn 3. Gaiman still stuck behind there right now. Sasek is holding 8th spot. Top 4 have yet to come down pit lane. Everyone else has made a pit stop aside from Saucier, who is, I think, mostly just collecting some points here. Right now he's sitting in the 10th position. Mills and Miller both staying on racetrack right now after a lap 1 contact, mostly because there's a chance they can gain more points by getting around Saucier. For Miller, this is his first weekend where he's been able to score points in a race. For Taylor Mills, 2nd week in a row, that contact is thrown her out of the podium conversation. This time a little bit more significant than what it was at Montreal, because unfortunately, unlike what we had at Montreal where we had 18 cars, we have 12 cars here, and they've developed their own little pockets of activity. Brennan 127.9, personal best for him. Gaiman still not using push to pass. Sasek also off it, to be fair. He's off push to pass. You can see that in the LEDs on the roll bar. Really good example when we had that camera pointed at them on the front straightaway. When it's solid green, that means that they've got push to pass available to use. If it's a slow flash, that means that it's recharging. It's on a cooldown. If it's a fast blink, that means that they're actively on it. If it's red, they've got less than 20 seconds left. If there's no LEDs present, they're out. Pretty easy to read there. The amount of push to pass that the drivers have, we cannot see. This is not like ABN Champ Car where we know everyone's got 10 that they can use, and we can track that down. They've got 200 seconds of push to pass to use in a race. Basically 1 second per kilometer. Top four staying out. They're going the long way. Again, you can pit up to lap 38. We'll see how close they get to that. De Bakker, not really much of an incentive to try to make an early pit stop here. He's still got really good pace at the moment. Only a couple drivers really challenging him on that pace. Sasek in the 127s for the first time. Gaiman still has not broken into the 127s, but he's also been in traffic almost the entire time. Now that Sasek got those Yokohama tires up to temperature, the gap has gone from 0.3 to 6. Conkley and Sawyer. Obviously not, I don't think really able to match up that pace of De Bakker. Right now sitting nice. Second and third. Those two will be likely battling for a chance at podium at the end of this race. Where on the podium they'll be sitting really just kind of depends on how this race really pivots out. We're on lap 15 of 43. Again, this is the closest battle on track at the moment. 4 cars yet to make a pit stop in this race. Saucier has officially retired. He is out. It gives us 11 cars remaining. And a very light field this weekend that also shares responsibility with the 24 hours of Spa. Off weekend next weekend, and then a busy 4 weeks of August, beginning in Barcelona for the Spanish Grand Prix on August 3rd. There goes Gaiman around, and for the 3rd week in a row, he tap spins in pursuit of a position. It was for podium last week. It was for 3rd at Indianapolis. It was for 7th here in Portimao, and he still finds a way to loop it around. Right off the heels of setting his personal best. He's got to do all the work all over again. 5 seconds to gap. Sasek taking it a little bit easy now that he has the ability, and he's got the breathing room too. In that 7th spot. Neil De Bakker still front of the field. And again, this is going to be a very much a conversation of how does it sort out on pit lane for De Bakker. For the first time this season, did not have a great getaway. Got leapfrogged by Constantinou, who's traditionally had a rough restart, or a rough standing start. Figured it out here in Portimao. Got to the lead early. De Bakker, it took De Bakker almost 7 laps to get back to the front of the field. Had to use push to pass to get back to the front. And has not looked back since. But now sits on what could be the wrong side of history on the tire battle here, on the pit stop strategy. De Bakker racing firm after DNFing at Montreal last week. It was a nightmare scenario for Taylor Mills Racing as teammates collided on turn 1, lap 1. Mills was able to continue on. De Bakker tried to, but the Belgian unfortunately just had to retire the car, ended up being 10th. Still scoring some points, top 15 score points in the Hyper Formula Championship. It follows more of the motorcycle championship point standings than it does the European Grand Prix formula. So it's 25, 20, 16, 13, 11, 10 to 1, all the way further down. And then there's 3 bonus point options available in qualifying. Pole position gets 3 bonus points. Second place gets you 2. Third place in qualifying gets you 1 bonus point. De Bakker's gotten 9 bonus points this season, all of them pole positions to kick off the season. Starting lap 18. He's at 11.2 seconds. And this was a track where familiarity was going to be key. As I mentioned at the top of the broadcast, this is ABN's first time racing in Portugal. This is not everyone's first time racing here. De Bakker's been here before. Miller's raced here before. Some drivers have experience at this racetrack, and those two, not unsurprising, are the 2 fastest cars on the racetrack, minus Bianca Constantinou, who's just really able to adapt to the situation. For Constantinou, what a rough time period it was for Constantinou this week. Had to serve a suspension in the HTL Cup Series. Did not get to race at that race in Suzuka on Monday. Now trying to take out those frustrations and all that focus here in Portugal. Kind of walking through the calendar here. Again, we got Barcelona in 2 weeks' time. No race next Saturday. Barcelona August 3rd. Silverstone August 10th. Mandicore August 17th. Red Bull Ring August 24th. A week off on August 31st. Then it's the German Grand Prix at the Nürburgring September 7th. The Italian Grand Prix at Monza September 14th. Another week off for the 21st of September before we go to Phillip Island, Suzuka, and the season ends October 12th in Brazil at Interlagos. Constantinou now faster than De Bakker. Is this the turnover point for the Romanian? Nick Pressey, this could be interesting to see how this fight develops. Now a lap down in 9th, on the same lap as Taylor Mills and Derek Miller. Now, intriguingly, Miller and Mills all have a pit stop to make still, because they pit on lap 1 for the repair damage that they needed to fix. They have another pit stop to make. Wow, rear end there for Constantinou approaching the final corner. See if that slows her down any on this lap. It just might, and it did, just a little bit. We saw Garnet Adams in pit lane, same with Nick Pressey back in pit lane. Adams leaving pit lane now. See Pressey in his box, and that is an extended time in his box. And that is a retirement for the second MPEM car. We're down to 10. Adams came out behind Danny Brennan, but ahead of Eli Sasek. So Danny Brennan with the undercut. It worked out. The Irish driver with a little bit of latency issues. Trying to get back and rolling here, the Ulsterman. Sorry, not Ulsterman. Ulsterman's Northern Ireland. Danny Brennan is just pure Irish. I was thinking of Eddie Irvine with that reference. Brennan now up to 5th place and a chance to gain still, with Sawyer and Conkley also not on track at the moment. So Brennan in 5th place at the moment. Tucker Sawyer, the last driver that, one of the first drivers. Backwards here. One of the last drivers that need to make a pit stop mandatory here. Sitting in 3rd place at the front of the field. Will definitely lose 3rd to Constantinu. Could lose to Brennan as well. He's not been able to really keep touch with Rachel Conkley. Conkley right now looking for a first podium of the season. Prismatic Motorsports Janetta sitting top 2 at the moment. Time's slowing down a little bit for both Constantinu and DeBacker. DeBacker now in the 1:27.2s. Constantinu's dropped down from that same range to the 1:27.5s. And there goes an off track there almost for Sawyer through turn 3. Almost into the gravel. Really good save there by Sawyer to avoid taking the significant off track penalty there, having to go through the gravel. But that will not help his chances of staying ahead of Danny Brennan in that battle for the top 5. Again, DeBacker still leads over Conkley, Sawyer, Constantinu, and Brennan. A lot of latency for Danny Brennan, but he's also on an island. He's not really affecting anybody. It's not a bad thing. He's able to kind of keep going, keep focused. He may not be really aware that he is. Constantinu finding struggles, keeping up that consistency with the pace at the moment. And that's that, as we mentioned earlier, that was the difference between Constantinu and DeBacker so far this season. DeBacker's able to consistently hit those lap times. Constantinu still trying to find that consistency. Here comes Sawyer in pit lane. Same with Conkley. They are in with 20 laps to go. So here's Constantinu rounding the final corner. And Constantinu will go back up to 2nd place. Pretty settled there. How about Brennan? Approaching the final corner now. Conkley and Sawyer both leaving pit lane. Does he leapfrog either of them? Conkley now up to speed. Sawyer about to be. It's going to be close. Because they've also got those outlaps on cold tires. Six tenths. You see the latency that we're talking about there with Brennan. Sawyer in threat. Big time danger with Brennan. Stayed ahead of him on the pit delta, but this outlap crucial for Sawyer and for Ascent Racing. Up the hill. One of several. They're dancing down the hill there. Sawyer trying to find a way around. Sasek trying to find the line to prevent it. Trouble with Sasek. Sasek is spun around backwards. And Gaiman in trouble as well. What happened here? Out of 4. Down towards turn 5. Is this a late lunge? No, this is a loop around. And Sasek does the same thing there. Ooh, that's uncomfortable there, jumping around that sausage curving. Gaiman gets it turned back around, but no contact between the two. Gaiman just looped it on entry. Sasek looped it on exit of turn 5. Not the way you want that to go. Gaiman ultimately holds on to the spot. Though still now 11 seconds behind Garnet Adams, who they have leapfrogged in pit lane. DeBacker in pit lane now. Moment of truth. Less than 20 laps to go, 19 laps to go for the field. Opened up a 43-second gap on Constantinu. Consistency was supreme from the Belgian, who needed to lock in. Constantinu, final sector, final corner. DeBacker going to have a very easy pit out here. The gap is going to definitely no longer be 43 seconds. It'll be down less than 20 easily. What does the gap end up translating into? Less than 7, less than 6. Remember, DeBacker's got cool tires to deal with, but Constantinu now on more worn tires. DeBacker's got the freshest tires in the field. Trouble for Tucker Sawyer. He's looped it. He's gone around. And there has been another issue for Eli Sasek. Let's see what happened to the leading driver for Ascent Racing. He just loops it around on his own there. He just kind of gives up the ghost there. How about Sawyer? What happens to him? Both the Ascent cars having troubles here. This is defending from Brennan. Hops the curb. Oh, heavy on the braking there. Really overestimated his stuff. Keeps it going. But now down in 5th place. Constantinu sitting in 2nd by 6 seconds. But 11 ahead of Rachel Konkoly, the Hungarian driver, looking for a first podium in the season. Talk about what that would do for Prismatic Motorsports and their points odds. Taylor Mills stuck in 8th right now. DeBacker still scoring the lion's share points for Taylor Mills Racing. Constantinu in 2nd for Stepping Stone. Konkoly in 3rd. Adams in 6th. Ahead of Gaiman and Mills. As the race continues to work through. DeBacker coming to complete lap 26 and start lap 27 here in the Portuguese Grand Prix. And now he's turned it on. 126.9 for DeBacker. He did use push to pass on his warm-up laps exiting pit lane. Constantinu in the 128s now. That consistency is gone. Konkoly in the 127.3s. So there could be a conversation to be had. Constantinou beginning to lose time to the Hungarian. This could be a battle for second raging. Because remember, Conkley and De Backer, they both pit later. Constantinou pit on lap 6. In fact, looking at the top 5 at the moment, Constantinou right now is the slowest. Yes, we go down to Garnet Adams, who ran a 1:28.9. Right now, third position. The Bacher fast lap of the race, 1:26.7. They finally got that at the moment as things stand. Conkley another 1:27.3, consistently there and consistently at least half a second faster than Constantinou. Constantinou losing a lot of pace right now. And that will not be helped by the half spin that just took place for Constantinou. You saw the puff of smoke there that Conkley just drove through. This is what happened to Constantinou on those older tires now. Too much curving and that hairpin. And now Constantinou in trouble from this driver right here, Rachel Conkley. She's gunning for that second position now. She sees it. Another fastest lap, another purple from De Backer, 1:26.6. More push to pass used on that lap as well. And Conkley on push to pass as well, trying to close the gap in. Right now sitting P3. She knows she's faster than Constantinou. Catching up and passing are two different things, but we've seen what's been possible. To the gap as it begins to build up just slowly but surely. Constantinou scrambling to try to find that pace again. Whereas for Conkley, it's coming a little bit easier. Constantinou on push to pass, Conkley on cooldown. And Conkley still faster with Constantinou on push to pass, 1:27.3 to 1:27.1. Brennan also in the 1:27.3s. So if these two start battling, Brennan's in range time-wise to close in. Mills 1:27.2. Constantine pulling away just a little bit from Conkley, from 2.1 to 2.3 seconds. Seems like Bianca's normally better in that middle sector. 1:26.6 once again from De Backer, who is dumping his push to pass. Conkley on it once again as well, closing the gap less than 2 seconds. Constantino on cool down, Conkley on the button. Down the long front straightaway through turns 1, 2, and 3. The gap is 1.6. It is noticeably closing. Running on board with the prismatic driver. Almost lost it there, Conkley did, and lost a lot of time from it too. And Constantino runs wide. Opportunity lurking here for Conkley in the final sector. Constantino still struggling with rear end grip big time. 1.3 the gap. So what 1.3 seconds looks like from the third place car. And Conkley on cool down. Almost 7/10 faster that lap. Maximizing exit there out of turn 1. Got to keep it nice and tidy here through 3 and 4. Up the hill. It falls away from you a little bit. We've seen people loop it there. .3 the gap as it closes down more and more. Coming to 11 laps to go in the Grand Prix. Again, outstanding race so far. Had an incident in lap 1. 3 cars out of this race through no contact incidents there. All of the Sasek spun and just retired. Didn't tag the wall or anything. Preci retired after being lapped, and Saucier retired after essentially being lapped and then being passed by Miller and by Taylor Mills. .27.3, 27.2. It's almost less than a second. Constantino having to defend. Oh, Constantino spins it. Constantino spins it from second place. Second now belongs to Prismatic Motorsports and Rachel Conkley. Constantino, under the pressure, drops to third. And now overheated rear tires. Constantino under threat from the Irishman of Danny Brennan. Conkley up to second, Constantino down to third, Brennan in fourth as De Backer sets another fastest lap, 1:26.4. And we figured he would not be denied at this point, having the freshest tires in the field. but we are surprised by how much the tires have fallen off for Constantinu and Stepping Stone Motorsports. 128.2 for Conkley as she avoided the spinning Constantinu. Constantinu's lap time going to look way worse, 134.6. Brennan, 127.8. The pressure is unrelenting at this point. Constantinu running right now, just trying to salvage a podium. Really struggling with grip on the rear tires. You can see it just dance around on her. I definitely think that strategy call of pitting on lap 6 was not the play, because you have nothing left at this stanza, and this is a very intensive track. It's a fresher track, it's a fresher asphalt, so there's more grip in it. But it's so abusive on the tires. It's not a fun experience when you're just trying to hang on here for what it will be eventually 10 laps. This is where we're at. 9 laps to go. And for Constantinu, those are an agonizing 9 laps. Almost lost it there in 4. Those rear tires are completely shot. There is nothing left of those Yokohamas on the back of that car. And you see the lockups, you see the lockups, you see the dancing around, you see the struggle. The struggle of intent over adhesion is big, and there's another spin. Constantinu drops off the podium. And that's important because Danny Brennan pit just 1 lap later on lap 7, but he nursed his tires around, was not running the outlap blistering pace that Constantinu was trying to run, and now cannot maintain. The Romanian, after a fantastic win in Montreal 7 days ago, struggles to see the podium here in Portugal. And there's got to be a pit stop here. This has got to be flat tire territory for Constantinu, for the Romanian. You've got to come down pit lane. She refuses. But now she's under threat of losing more positions here. Here comes Sawyer in 5th. And you've got to think of diminishing returns here. If Constantinu stays out and those tires go completely flat, if Constantinu crashes out, that is from 4th place to 10th. Sorry, the 9th place, excuse me. You pit now, you might just be able to salvage 7th. The objective is to finish this race. Constantinu drifting that car around that corner. Definitely not the fastest way around. Constantinu struggling big time. Sawyer, just 4 seconds adrift. Oh, this is trouble. Oh, this is big time trouble. This is Taylor Mills getting through. And Taylor Mills going to leave. No question about it. Here comes battle between Garnet Adams and Josh Gaiman with Derek Miller in the fray. 3 cars in this bunch. Miller's the fastest of the 3. He's trying to get through this pack, is what he's trying to do. And that's what he's going to do. He gets around Adams here into turn 5. That's close. But he's faster than the bunch. He's got the ability to pass and get away. He's going to do it. Ultimately, didn't take either of these two out of the fight for that 6th spot. So it's all fair. Would have been a little bit more awkward if it was Miller getting in front of Gaiman and just sitting. That's not the case. Miller is heel stepping it, trying to get away from these two as they duke it out for position. And Constantinu spun again. Now down to 5th. We'll look at the replay of that here in a moment. Just want to make sure we didn't miss any potential passes here. We'll wait until turn 1 to show a replay of the most recent spin from the Romanian. Does Gaiman have enough room to make a pass? Not here in 1. He's got to wait until turn 5 then as another opportunity. Through 3. Some drivers, if you're bold enough, can try to make it there. Gaiman wasn't close enough to try it. Out of 4. Down the hill now. Not close enough. Garnet doing a really good job trying to hold on to that 6th spot. That could become 5th easily. And Constantinu with another spin. And Constantinu is going to drop down spots quickly. Almost spinning again. You've got to make a pit stop here. She's already made 1 stop, so she can make another stop here in the final 5 laps. Still trying to hang on to it. These two really close. Really, really close. Less than a 10th. Separating these two. Adams on the button, Gaiman not. And that's why Adams held onto it in turn 1. And now Adams in the cooldown. Gaiman's going to have a chance with push to pass the next time through. He's got more than 20 seconds to use. Would be surprised if he doesn't use it. Constantinu struggling still. This is not good. It's not good. Let's take a look at one of the spins that happened while we were focusing on that battle with Garnet Adams and Josh Gaiman. Very difficult part of the racetrack where there's so many hills you're battling through. This is on the heels of Taylor Mills. And it's a full 360 there. 360 and a stop. That's where Sawyer gets through. And then here's another one. This was in turn 1. Turn 1, 2 into turn 3 here. Half spin there. And Gaiman spun around again. Chasing Garnet Adams once again. Gaiman did a half spin. The Stepping Stone cars in a full-on struggle at the moment. It breathes a breath of fresh air to Garnet Adams with 4 laps to go to try to cruise to a 6th place on her birthday weekend. Chance for some really solid points, but she's also struggling with grip. And that Janetta. She's not struggling near as hard as Constantinou has been. But the pace has slowed. Adams. Traveling up, almost loops it there. Almost threw sixth away in a really bad place, because that was going to be Armco barrier. That would not have been pleasant. A lot of the spins today have been very harmless self spins with no damage involved. That would not have been one of them. And now Adams, who pit on lap 19, Gaiman on lap 6. Now back on level footing. Coming to 3 laps to go. Sawyer, personal best, 1:26.9. He's level with the race leader on current pace right now. Here comes Gaiman, full head of steam. Adams defends the inside. Gaiman tries to go to the outside. They almost make contact. Had that been Montreal, it would have been. Netco would have taken over there. The issues we saw at Montreal not present here today. Here comes Gaiman, over under, out of 4. And they're defending big time. Adams on the inside of 5. Gaiman locks up out of 5 there, but takes 6th place away. Gaiman's got a chance to put pressure on his teammate. If he can catch up to Constantinou, and anything's possible here, they're coming to 2 laps to go. The race leader, De Vacher, already on 2 to go. He's already on lap 42. This group, that's how far back that they've drifted here in a caution-free event. Everyone had a really strong chance here to race this afternoon. Gaiman trying to defend, trying to break the slipstream. Successfully doing so. Adams on push to pass. Sends it into turn 1! How did they save that? I don't think they did. Is Gaiman already out of the race? What happened to Josh Gaiman? Did he just get disqualified? Did he just get disqualified? Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. On the final lap. Incident point violation for Josh Gaiman. 26 incident points. Oh my goodness. And now if that contact was a 4X with Garnet Adams. Oh goodness. That'll be interesting to hear. There's Neil De Vacher, not far behind from Garnet Adams. Adams will finish on the lead lap. For the second time this season, it's a Belgian at the front of the field. It's Neil De Vacher at the front of the field. Tilla Mills Racing and Neil De Vacher win in Portugal and slam the door back shut on the championship lead. Rachel Conkley, who had to fight to get to this point, will take second place, rounding the final corner. The Hungarian becomes the first to represent her country on the podium in ABN. Second place for Rachel Conkley at Prismatic Motorsports. And then it's the Irishman, Danny Brennan. Another first, as he represents Ireland on the podium for the first time in Hyper Formula. Team boss Taylor Mills celebrating there with Brennan, congratulating him on his first podium. Tucker Sawyer, you saw there going by in 4th. Constantine, who held on to 5th. Constantine wrecking the car across start finish line, frustrated with her race, and understandably so. Adams finishes in 6th, but that's going to end up being under review, I'd have to assume. After basically DQing Josh Gaiman on incident points on the final lap. You see the damage on that front wing. Neil de Backer at the front of the field, winner once again here in Portugal. As some drivers taking drop rounds, de Backer capitalizing on a reduced field to pounce on a championship lead. What a scramble that was. De Backer got full points, got the fastest lap point there at the end as well. Taylor Mills Racing got 4 bonus points out of that. Absolutely wild stuff there. Let's walk over the results of this race real quick. That is insanity is what that is, of the highest order. Neil de Backer, Bianca Constantinou, and Derek Miller, they were the top 3 that scored the bonus points in qualifying, but the race is where most of the points got scored. De Backer, 25 points plus the fastest lap plus pole, 29 points on the day total. Rachel Conkley finishing 2nd, Danny Brennan in 3rd, Tucker Sawyer 4th, Bianca Constantinou holds on to 5th ahead of Garnet Adams, Taylor Mills, Derek Miller, Josh Gaiman, Eli Sasek, and Nick Pressey, and Bryce Sosu, the 12 that finished this race. The championship, though, that gets interesting. De Backer with 68 points, Constantinou with 52. Mills stays in 3rd, barely, with 41. Conkley moves up big time with 34. Tucker Sawyer moves up a spot with 32. Gaiman drops spots there with 30. Garnet Adams and 20 with 28 points in 7th. Danny Brennan in 8th. Pelletier Sharp 9th. And Sasek in the top 10. As you look at the top 20 that have scored points in this season so far. Of the 24 drivers in the field, 20 have scored points in the first 3 races. Likewise, in the team's championship standings, Taylor Mills Racing extends the gap over Stepping Stone Motorsports. Prismatic Motorsports closes in a little bit there and extends the gap over Ascent. Ascent pushes themselves a little bit higher over Taylor Mills Motorsports, despite Brennan being the lion's share points holder there for Taylor Mills Motorsports. They got ahead of Nick Pressey Motorsports and Dogbox Racing, who did not have a car present in this race. And Arasaka Motorsports gained some points, moving them top 10 in the team standings. We do have interviews to make here this afternoon. Let's start with 3rd place driver. Let's start with Danny Brennan, who did a fantastic job getting to the 3rd place position. Danny, this is Carmen from the ABN booth. You got a copy?
Copy, loud and clear.
What a drive. First podium for you this season in Hyper Formula, carrying the team on your back here to this afternoon. Walk us through that race, because you had to make up some spots to get there.
Oh yeah, chaos in the start, like Montreal. So like Montreal, I only got 5 laps with everything that was going on, so it was I was looking forward to doing well. At the I already had a poor start. I don't have a clutch to do a start with, so I kind of have to get things together. So I'm going to lose a few positions in every start. But still, there are incidents. So I pitted very early on lap 7. And yeah, I just drove my race. I was able to once I got myself under pressure, I was very consistent. I was able to overtake Tucker. I was surprised then when Bianca came back. She pitted the same lap as me, but she burned through her tires. So yeah, I was just keeping my consistency, hitting my marks, and hoping that by the end of it, it would get me somewhere. So I'm very happy to do it for Taylor Mills Motorsports. And yeah, podium, second time out, it's not half bad.
Absolutely not. And obviously, for you, you missed Indianapolis. You got the race, the chaos that was Montreal. You got to see a little bit here in Portugal, a new track for a lot of drivers. We have a lot of familiar tracks coming up here after the week break. We have Barcelona on August 3rd. We have Silverstone on August 10th. A lot of familiar tracks that are coming up. Getting this podium now on a track that's so crazy and hectic, does that give you some encouragement that you're going to be able to fight for these podiums consistently at tracks where there is more knowledge coming up?
Yeah, I would hope so. This is it's a decent track for me, but there are a few coming up towards the end of the year, especially, that I think I can target. You know, for more podiums and stuff. My aim was just to do a good points finish, just get the thing to the end. I was surprised how good my pace was in the race, which is a good sign for the future. I'm still getting used to these cars in a lot of ways. I'd say something like Silverstone, this track I love racing at. A lot of experience doing things like F1, so I'm looking forward to the challenge. It's a tough grid at the top, but I was very happy with my race pace. Even if I lost out track position at the start, the gaps to the people I was racing didn't really change that much once I pitted, so it's good to know that I had the pace of some of the best people here, and yeah, I'm delighted.
Well, history in the making. You're the first Irish driver to get a podium in ABN, a phenomenal result here in Portugal. Before we let you go and let you celebrate and let you get ready for the races coming up, if there's anyone you want to shout out and say thank you to, Danny, the floor is yours. Congrats on your first podium in ABN.
Thank you. So we'll shout out my teammates and associates, so Taylor Mills, Neil DeBacker, both, of course, absolutely rapid. I know Jess, Saban couldn't race this week, but she'll be here. She's very similar to me, so we'll be in and about the top 5 trying to get some results. And shout out to Anna as well.
Fantastic stuff. Danny, congratulations on the podium. Congratulations on everything that went into today's result. And hopefully we get to see more of the same in 2 weeks at Barcelona.
Thanks, Carmen.
That was Danny Brennan, 3rd place finisher here on the road. A fantastic effort for the Irishman. First Irish driver to be on podium in ABN competition across any of our races, and we've had quite a few of them at this point over 5 years. Fantastic result for him. We'll move forward on to the Prismatic Motorsports driver who scored 2nd place for the first time, similarly making history like Danny Brennan did, the first ever Hungarian driver to get on podium in ABN, Rachel Conkley. This is Carmen Sienna from the ABN booth. Do you got a copy?
Hello, I'm here.
Fantastic drive this afternoon. We know it was possible from the Prismatic Motorsports camp, but now we get to see it all put together. A 2nd place effort. Walk us through it on your end. A fantastic drive for the team.
I mean, personally, I wouldn't call it fantastic. I wasn't terribly happy with my driving, but I got lucky not to get caught up with the crash at the start, and then yeah, just kept it clean and managed to crawl my way up to P2. So it was nice.
Obviously a fantastic battle, a couple of fantastic battles throughout this field. You had a really good battle where you had to be the aggressor. You had to be the one putting pressure on Constantinu, and that paid off for you. Obviously there at the end, getting you that 2nd place there. But you were in that fight pretty much from the get-go of this race. It was you, it was Bianca, Neil, it was Tucker Sawyer in that mix early on. This is a track that not a lot of drivers had a lot of familiarity with going into this race. Where was your standing going into this race, and what was that feeling like for you being in that group and able to kind of keep touch there early on before the pit stops began to take hold?
Yeah, I mean, I was happy to be able to keep up because I've never raced this track before, so yeah, it was nice to be able to stick with them at least for the start. And I started dropping away from Neil, and Bianca stopped early, which I didn't quite understand. Maybe she had damage. But yeah, I'm not unhappy, but I'm not really happy either, because I could have dropped better.
Second place, a phenomenal result for you and the team. It puts you up to 4th in the driver standings. A pretty good result there, but we also look at tracks coming up here, as we mentioned there with Danny. I'll ask you the same thing. More familiar tracks coming forward. You talk about this was your first time racing here in Portugal. We have Barcelona in 2 weeks, Silverstone in 3 weeks. Given your ability to show pace here throughout the first couple rounds of the season, how is it? What is the feeling for you going into those races that I think everyone's had a lot of track experience on so far?
Yeah, I've been looking forward to these next 2 races since the start of the season. They're much more familiar tracks for me, so hopefully I can be a bit more competitive.
Well, we hope to see more of the Hungarian driver and the Hungarian flag on the podium over the next couple races. Before we let you go and let you enjoy your podium finish here and get ready for the races coming up, if there's anyone who want to shout and say thank you to, the floor is yours. Congrats again, Rachel, on your first podium in ABN. What a phenomenal one to get.
Well, thanks, Jess, for helping us, me and Garnet, through the race and helping with strategy. And thank you for the interview.
Absolutely fantastic job, Rachel. Enjoy the podium. Second place for the Hungarian driver here in Portugal. A fantastic result there for Rachel. P2 here in Algarve. And now we talk about a driver who went from the lowest of lows a week ago to back to the highest of highs, maximum points on offer, and reaffirming that championship lead. It's the Belgian Neil de Backer at the top of the board for Taylor Mills Racing. Neil, this is Carmen from the ABN booth. Do you got a copy?
Hello. Hello.
What a drive. It was frantic at the start. For the first time, you got beat at the start, but you were able to get that position back. A phenomenal battle for the first 7 laps of this race. And then it became the Neil de Backer show, where it was consistent fast laps and just watching that gap expand. But walk us through, obviously, the start of this race. Obviously, Montreal did not go well for you, didn't finish that race. This is a track where you could see the same thing happen in turn 1, just as similar. What was going through your mind there? And obviously, was the approach to the start of this race a little bit different given what happened last week in Montreal?
Yes and no. It just depends on my initial launch, and it wasn't great. So I was like back down to 5th, and like, okay, let's stay out of the chaos. And then I knew I had the pace to catch back up and overtake people. So that was stuck behind Bianca, I think, for a couple laps, and I decided that I just turned on the overtake because I have to get the move done. Because it was not easy to overtake at that point of the race, and then just casually start building a gap. Also, with these extreme high temperatures in Europe, I was like, yeah, I have to get past so I can do my own pace, chill a bit. So, because otherwise I was getting a little tough driving in these heat, like 30 Celsius in my room, I think, something like that at the moment. So yeah, so that was a little difficult.
Hot on track, hot obviously in real life there as well. You did a phenomenal job getting through and getting back to the championship lead after the craziness that was Montreal last week. You get to enjoy a week off next week, but then we go to tracks that is should be in everyone's wheelhouse, with Barcelona on August 3rd, Silverstone on August 10th, and then Magny-Cours on August 17th. Phenomenal pace so far from the 15 car from Taylor Mills Racing as a whole, going into those races where the difference in track knowledge is going to be a lot smaller. How do you feel your pace is going to be able to stand up here? Because Constantinu had a little bit of pace there, didn't have the consistency you had, but had that pace to kind of step in there and challenge for that fast lap. Do you expect to see more of that challenge like what we saw at the start of this race today when we go to Spain in 2 weeks?
Probably yes, but I think I'm quite decent at Barcelona. I think mainly it's going to be really tight at Silverstone, I think, because that's a track everyone knows really well, has driven a lot, and it's like a very flowing track, and it suits a lot of people's driving style. So that probably will be one of the closer races. Also, Barcelona is like, for overtaking, it's not the easiest, and I don't know if we're using the chicane or not because I can't remember.
We are not.
So then it's gonna be still as difficult, I think, to overtake. But yeah, those are fun tracks to drive. But yeah, it's gonna probably be closer because this is a track that's new for a lot of people. So I was actually surprised by the pace by some people in this track. Like, because I've done quite a few races here, not with open wheels, mainly with sports car. So I was surprised by the pace by most people. So no, was not bad, but probably will be tighter in other races.
Well, you did a fantastic job. 3 poles in 3 races, 2 wins in 3 races, and a championship lead reaffirmed here in Algarve. First race in Portugal is successful here for you for ABN side of things. Before we let you go and let you celebrate your race win and obviously cool down and enjoy the off week coming up, if there's anyone you want to shout and say thank you to, Neil, the floor is yours. Congrats on your 2nd win of the season. What a drive to get that fast slap in most points.
Thank you. And I'll shout out my team for being my teammates, and then also everyone from the ABN organization for organizing these races. I know this is probably has a lot of work going into this, like organizing the broadcasts, the sessions. Everyone has their daily lives with work, so it's not easy. I know it myself because like a year ago I started working, so I know how it feels like that you mainly have only time during the weekends to do stuff. So, and that takes quite a lot of everyone's time.
A fantastic job, Neil. Congratulations on the race win. Well earned here in Portugal. We'll see you again in 2 weeks in Spain to see if you can do it all again and go 3 for 4.
Thank you. Have a nice weekend. Bye. See ya.
That was Neil de Backer, the race winner for the 2nd time this season. 2 out of 3 races, not a bad gig at all. We'll once again go over the full results of this race. It's de Backer, Conkley, and Brennan, your podium finishers here in Portugal from Algarve. Over Sawyer, Constantinu, Adams, Mills, Miller, Gaiman, and Sasek, your top 10. Over a light field that shared the weekend with the Spa 24. The championship standings, wide open in some areas, closed in others. Taylor Mills Racing, once again, extending its gap at the front of the field. 107 points to 81 for Stepping Stone Motorsports there in the championship standings. At the top there of the team game. For the driver standings, it is Neil de Backer, 68 points over Constantinu's 52. Taylor Mills in 3rd still over Rachel Conkley, who moves up to 4th. Tucker Sawyer, Josh Gaiman, Garnet Adams, and Danny Brennan, your top 8. Pelletier Sharp 9th, Sasek 10th. Rounding out the top 10 in the Drivers' Championship standings. It was an absolutely frantic drive here in Portugal. We got to see a lot of fun stuff here throughout the race. We get to see you again here on YouTube tomorrow. It's the ARCS A Square Cup Series, beginning of its playoffs for 2024. Right here tomorrow, 7 p.m. Eastern Time on ABN 1 on Twitch. It's the Winstyle Cup Series back in action, with only a handful of races to go before we get into the chase for the Winstyle Cup. You're not going to miss that. That's 7:45 p.m. on Twitch on ABN Esports 1. And then we have the HDL Cup Series on Monday, the HDL Hammerdown Truck Series on Tuesday, and then the ABN Champ Car World Series from Homestead, Miami on Wednesday. All of that's going to be on ABN 1 or ABN Studios here on YouTube. On behalf of everyone here for ABN Studios, ABN Esports, and the ABN Hyper Formula Championship, everyone contesting the Grand Prix World Championships for ABN, I'm Carmen Sienna. Thank you all so much for tuning in this afternoon. We'll see you tomorrow for more stock car racing on Winstell and the ARC side of things. Until then, stay safe, stay healthy. We'll see you next time.